When you carry divine protection, even the strongest enemy bows before the weight of their own sins. You, the chosen ones, walk with an authority that doesn't come from this world. Your very existence is a reckoning, a disruption to the plans of the wicked. They can plot, lie, and manipulate, but the power within you is their undoing. You don't have to raise a finger, their guilt and shame do all the work. Let this be a reminder: no one who wrongs you can run from divine justice. They may hide, but their secrets will rot inside them until they crumble under the pressure of truth. Think about it. Your enemies put on brave faces, acting as if they've escaped the consequences of their actions. But look closer. That mask of confidence is cracking. Their smiles are brittle, their words falter, and their eyes betray their torment. Why? Because guilt is not just an emotion, it's a spiritual anchor. And for those who've dared to cross the chosen, that anchor grows heavier by the day. They feel it in their chests, an unbearable weight, a constant reminder that they've wronged someone protected by a power far greater than they can comprehend. And to you, the chosen one, thank you for being here, standing strong in the divine power that sets you apart. Whether this is your first step into the light, or you've been walking this path with us, know this: your energy is what fuels this mission of truth and justice. If you're ready to see the tables turn, to witness the reckoning that's been written in the stars, tap that like button, hit subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments below if you're ready to claim your victory. And now, let's dive into it step by step. Stay with me, because if you truly are chosen, you'll feel the pull to stay until the end. It's not just a message, it's a revelation. Let's get started. So, chosen ones, do you know what makes your enemies' suffering worse? It's that they know they can't outrun it. It's like trying to escape their own shadow. It's always there, looming over them, growing darker with every lie they tell themselves. They can distract themselves with laughter, drown their conscience in distractions, but the moment they're alone, the truth grabs them by the throat. Restless nights, cold sweats, racing hearts. These are not coincidences, they're the echoes of divine justice. God has tied their guilt to their spirit, and there's no escape. They will confess, not because they want to, but because they have to. You, the chosen ones, are not just witnesses to this unraveling. You are the very reason for it. Your presence alone exposes the cracks in their armor. It's as if the universe has placed a magnifying glass over their sins, making it impossible for them to hide. Every word you speak carries a weight they cannot bear. Your silence, even more terrifying. They wonder if you know. They wonder if the truth is about to spill, and the paranoia eats away at them like a fire consuming dry wood. But here's the beauty of divine justice. It doesn't just bring confession, it brings restoration. The truth, no matter how painful, must surface because it is the only path to healing. And while your enemies dread the moment they must face you, they also know deep down that this reckoning is inevitable. Their guilt is the seed, but their confession is the harvest. They've planted deceit, and now they must reap the consequences. Divine protection is not just a shield for you. It's a sword that cuts through lies and deceit. It ensures that no weapon formed against you prospers. Your enemies thought they could get away with it, but they underestimated the power of being chosen. You don't just carry divine favor, you are divine favor. That's why they can't rest. That's why they can't hide. They are being dragged toward their reckoning by the very forces they thought they could outsmart. So let them squirm. Let them wrestle with their conscience. Let them wake up in cold sweats, replaying the moments they thought they'd buried. because the truth is coming, and it's coming through you. You don't need revenge. Justice is already at work. The divine is watching, orchestrating, ensuring that everything hidden in the dark is brought to light. When you carry divine protection, even the strongest enemy bows. Remember that. Their strength, their pride, their lies, all of it collapses under the weight of their own sins. You, chosen ones, are untouchable, unstoppable, and undeniable. Stand firm, because the storm is not yours to fight. It's theirs to endure. And now, let's break it down step by step. Trust me, if you are truly one of the chosen, you'll feel the undeniable pull to stay until the very end. This isn't just a message. It's a divine call meant for you. Stay with me, because what's coming next will open your eyes in ways you never imagined. Let's get started. Number 1. They can run, but they can't outrun the divine reckoning. The weight of guilt isn't carried in their hands, but on their soul, and it only grows heavier the longer they resist. When someone wrongs a chosen one, they don't just carry guilt. It becomes a curse, a relentless storm battering their spirit. They might try to walk with their head held high, but deep down, they're already buckling under the weight. It's not like the ordinary guilt that comes and goes. No, this is divine pressure, a force so unyielding it seeps into their every waking moment. It's like being chained to an invisible anchor, and every lie, every excuse they tell themselves only tightens those chains. They can smile in public and pretend all is well, but when they're alone, the truth hunts them down. Their mind becomes a battlefield, their heart a war zone. They hear the whispers of their conscience growing louder, like a ticking clock they can't escape. It's not just guilt. It's the voice of divine justice, calling them to account for what they've done. Imagine it. They lay down at night, hoping for peace, but their sleep is stolen by restless dreams and cold sweats. They toss and turn, haunted by shadows of their own making. It's like a movie playing on repeat in their mind, replaying every word, every action, every betrayal. And the worst part, they can't hit pause. The universe won't allow it. That's what happens when you cross someone who walks in divine protection. Your sins become a weight too heavy to bear. The pressure doesn't stop at their mind. It seeps into their life, turning everything sour. Their patience runs thin, their relationships grow strained, and their once comfortable routines feel like walking on broken glass. Small inconveniences suddenly feel catastrophic, as if the universe itself is conspiring against them. And perhaps it is because divine justice doesn't let the wicked rest. Some might wonder, why don't they just move on? Why not forget what they did and live their life? Because they can't. When you've wronged someone chosen by divine power, the guilt doesn't just sit in your mind, it roots itself in your spirit. It's not something you can shrug off or distract yourself from. Every attempt to bury it feels like a shovel full of dirt being thrown back in their face. The weight grows heavier, the burden greater, until they're left gasping for air. And here's the truth. Chosen ones, they're not just haunted by guilt. They're haunted by your light. Your very existence is a reminder of the truth they're trying to avoid. When they see you, it's like staring into a mirror that shows them everything they're running from. Your divine protection makes their lies crumble, their masks slip, and their carefully constructed walls collapse. They thought they could get away with it, but they underestimated the power you carry. You're not just another person. They wronged someone handpicked by God, someone walking under divine favor. And the divine doesn't forget. It doesn't let injustice go unchecked. That's why their conscience won't let them rest. That's why they feel the pull to confess. They may not understand it, but they know deep down there's no escape. The truth they've buried is like a splinter in their soul, festering and refusing to heal. The only way to find relief is to rip it out, to confess, to come clean, to face the chosen one they've wronged. And they will. It's not a matter of if, but when. The longer they resist, the more unbearable the pressure becomes. It's like trying to hold back a dam that's already cracked. The flood is inevitable. You don't need to lift a finger. You don't need to seek revenge. Divine justice is working on your behalf, ensuring that no wrong goes unaccounted for. The truth will find its way to you, not because you demand it, but because the universe demands it. So hold your head high, chosen one. Know that your power is undeniable, your light unshakable. The ones who've wronged you are feeling the full weight of what they've done, and they will come to you, not out of kindness, but because they have no other choice. The divine won't let them rest until they do. Number 2, they've bitten off more than they can chew in the game of souls. To wound a chosen one is to declare war on your own spirit. It's a fight they cannot win without bowing to the truth. When someone wrongs a chosen one, it's not just a poor decision or a lapse in judgment. It's a spiritual overstep, a reckless gamble they didn't even realize they were making. The moment they crossed you, they walked straight into a divine test, a challenge far bigger than their ego or pride could ever handle. Whether it was betrayal, deceit, or neglect, it wasn't just an action. It was the first move in a cosmic trial, one their spirit can't afford to lose. You see, chosen ones aren't just people. You're a divine checkpoint, a mirror that exposes the truth about others. Your presence forces a reckoning. Either they rise to meet the higher vibration you carry, or they sink under the weight of their own shortcomings. For the one who's wronged you, the realization comes slowly at first, like a whisper in the back of their mind. But as the days pass, that whisper grows louder until it becomes a roar they can't ignore. They begin to sense they've done more than hurt you. They've sabotaged their own spiritual progress. It's like failing an exam they didn't know they were taking. Their spirit recognizes the weight of what they've done long before their mind catches up. They might brush it off at first, blaming circumstances, justifying their actions, or pretending it doesn't matter. But deep down, their soul knows. It feels the weight of the failure, the gnawing awareness that they've fumbled something sacred. They start to feel trapped, as if every door they try to walk through leads them back to the same place, the moment they wronged you. It's not coincidence, it's divine design. Their growth, their evolution, their very ability to move forward in life is now tied to this moment. They've stepped into a spiritual crossroad, and their spirit refuses to let them ignore it. The more they try to move on without addressing it, the heavier the burden becomes. It's like trying to climb a mountain with a boulder strapped to their back. Every step forward feels harder, slower, more draining. They may not even fully understand why their life feels out of sync, but their soul knows it's because they're carrying unresolved baggage, the weight of their failure to align with the truth when they were in your presence. You, chosen one, are not just a person to them anymore. You're a symbol of the test they failed. Your light exposes the shadow they're desperate to hide. You didn't ask for this role, but your divine protection ensures that anyone who crosses you must face the consequences, not because you demand it, but because the universe does. This isn't about revenge, it's about balance. When they wronged you, they tipped the scales, and now their spirit is scrambling to restore equilibrium. And here's the thing, they can't move forward without confessing. They may try to find shortcuts, distractions, or excuses, but nothing will work. Their spirit is locked in place, unable to evolve until they face what they've done. it's not just guilt, it's the weight of a spiritual impasse. Confessing to you isn't just about making things right with you, it's about making things right within themselves. It's their soul's desperate plea to get unstuck, to rise above the mess they've created, and to find a way forward. They might try to resist at first, clinging to their pride or fear, but the pull is too strong. It's like being caught in a current they can't swim against. The divine is guiding them, pushing them, forcing them to confront the truth. They realize that without this confession, they're spiritually stranded, stuck in the same cycle of guilt, shame, and regret. And the longer they resist, the louder the pressure becomes, until it feels like it's consuming them from the inside out. This is the power of being chosen. You didn't just cross their path by chance. You were placed there, a divine checkpoint in their journey. And now they must face the truth, or be forever weighed down by the shadow of their own failure. They've bitten off more than they can chew, and the only way to find peace is to swallow their pride and confess. So hold your ground, chosen one. Their spirit is in turmoil, their world is off balance, and they know the only way forward is through you. They will come to you, not because they want to, but because they must. Divine justice won't let them rest until they do. Number 3. Your presence turns their secrets into time. Bombs. To stand in the presence of a chosen one is to stand before a storm that shakes the very core of hidden deceit. When someone crosses a chosen one, they don't just encounter you, they collide with the power you radiate, and that collision sends shockwaves through their entire being. Your energy isn't ordinary, it's a force of nature, a divine frequency that refuses to be ignored. It carries clarity, honesty, and authenticity, cutting through facades like a blade. For someone carrying secrets, lies, or wrongdoings, being in your presence feels like walking into a furnace. The heat is unbearable, and the longer they resist, the stronger it grows. They may not understand what's happening at first. All they know is that being near you makes them feel exposed, as though the walls they've built around their guilt are crumbling brick by brick. It's not just in their mind, it's in their body too. The tension is almost physical, like an invisible weight pressing down on their chest. Every glance you give them, every word you speak, feels like a mirror reflecting back the truth they're trying to hide. And it terrifies them. You see, your presence doesn't just challenge their lies, it destabilizes their entire energy field. Think of it like a tuning fork. Your frequency is pure and aligned, and when it meets the distorted vibrations of their guilt, it creates a storm of dissonance. They feel it as restlessness, irritation, even paranoia. It's as if your very existence calls out their deception, forcing it to the surface. They can try to put on a brave face, but deep down, they feel like you can see through them, right into the darkest corners of their soul. For the guilty, being around a chosen one is like carrying a ticking bomb. Every moment in your presence feels like the countdown gets closer to zero. They can't relax, can't breathe, can't think clearly. It's as though your energy has become a magnifying glass, making their guilt larger and harder to ignore. This isn't just discomfort, it's torment. They may feel like they're losing control, like they're unraveling piece by piece. And here's the thing, the more they resist, the worse it gets. They might try to avoid you, thinking distance will save them, but your energy has already left its mark. It follows them, echoing in their mind, stirring up their conscience. Even in your absence, they feel the disruption. Their guilt doesn't fade. It festers, like a wound that refuses to heal. This isn't just karma, it's divine design. When someone crosses a chosen one, they don't just face the consequences of their actions. They face the light you carry, a light that refuses to let shadows remain hidden. Your energy demands truth, authenticity, and alignment. Anything less feels like poison to their soul. They might try to rationalize it, telling themselves it's just stress or coincidence. But deep down, they know better. They know their guilt is tied to you, that their inability to find peace stems from the moment they wronged you. And the only way they can quiet the storm inside them is by confessing. It's not just about seeking your forgiveness. It's about trying to balance their own energy, to lift the weight of what they've done and find some semblance of relief. Your presence, chosen one, is their reckoning. It's the divine justice that makes them confront their failures, their lies, their betrayals. They can't hide from it because you aren't just a person to them. You're a force, a living reminder of what they've done. Their guilt has turned into a bomb, and every second they delay confession is a second closer to detonation. So let them squirm. Let them wrestle with the storm you've stirred up in their spirit. They thought they could cross you and move on, but they didn't realize the power you carry. The divine protection that ensures no wrong against you goes unanswered. They'll come to you, not because they want to, but because they have no choice. Their spirit is demanding it, their soul screaming for release. And when they do, it won't just be a confession, it will be an act of survival, a desperate attempt to quiet the storm your presence has unleashed. You are their test, their reckoning, and their only path to peace. Number 4. Confessing to you becomes their only escape from the curse. To wrong a chosen one is to gamble with fate, and the house always wins. When someone dares to wrong a chosen one, they unknowingly set off a chain reaction that they are powerless to stop. It starts subtly, small inconveniences that seem like ordinary bad luck. Maybe they lose their keys, miss an important meeting, or face an unexpected bill. At first, they shrug it off as life being unpredictable, but soon, those small setbacks grow into something more sinister. Opportunities they were counting on slip through their fingers, relationships begin to strain, and no matter how much effort they put into fixing things, everything seems to go wrong. It's not just bad luck, it's a spiral. Their life starts to feel like it's veering off course, as if an unseen force is blocking their every move. No plan works, no effort pays off, and the harder they try to get back on track, the more chaos they encounter. It feels like swimming against a current that only gets stronger. This isn't coincidence, it's divine consequence. They've crossed someone chosen, someone under divine protection, and now they're paying the price. At first, they resist the idea that their misfortune is connected to their actions toward you. After all, who wants to admit that their bad luck is self-inflicted? But as the streak of misfortune drags on, the thought begins to creep into their mind. It starts as a faint whisper. What if this is happening because of what I did? That whisper grows louder with every setback, every missed opportunity, until it's impossible to ignore. They begin to sense that their actions have triggered something bigger than themselves, something spiritual, something karmic. It's not just bad timing or poor decisions. It feels personal, like the universe is delivering a message they can't afford to ignore. They realize they've tampered with a force far greater than they anticipated, and now they're facing the consequences. As their life continues to unravel, they reach a point of desperation. The usual fixes, working harder, thinking positive, trying to stay organized, don't make a dent in the storm of chaos. They start to feel as though they're cursed, trapped in a cycle of misfortune that has no end. That's when the thought of confession begins to take hold. Confessing to you stops feeling like a moral choice and starts feeling like their only lifeline. Their spirit begins to recognize that the chaos they're experiencing is tied to the imbalance they've created by wronging you. Deep down, they know that their misfortune won't stop until they make things right. Owning up to what they've done isn't just about clearing their conscience anymore. It's about breaking the curse that seems to have taken over their life. Imagine them lying awake at night, replaying everything they've done, every word they've said. They feel the weight of their choices pressing down on them like an anchor, pulling their life into deeper waters. Every time they think about coming clean, they feel a flicker of hope, as if that might be the key to stopping the storm. But the idea of facing you terrifies them. They know they'll have to swallow their pride, confront their shame, and admit they were wrong. Yet, the longer they wait, the worse things get. The spiral tightens, the setbacks grow more relentless, and their life becomes a prison of their own making. They begin to see confession not as a loss, but as a way to reclaim their life, their peace, their future. And that's where your power as a chosen one shines brightest. You don't have to lift a finger or say a word. Divine justice works on your behalf. Their spirit knows it's out of alignment, and the only way to restore balance is to come to you, to face you, and to confess. So let them wrestle with their pride. Let them struggle against the weight of their guilt and the chaos they've unleashed on themselves. Because eventually, they'll break. They'll come to you, not out of goodwill, but out of necessity. You are their only escape, their only hope of breaking free from the curse they've brought upon themselves. Your light has disrupted their darkness, and they can't find peace until they make things right. Divine justice doesn't forget, and neither will they. The storm they're trapped in won't lift until they confess, and they know it. It's not just a choice, it's their last hope. Number 5. The invisible thread of fate pulls them back to you. To wrong a chosen one is to ignore a debt written in the stars, a soul's obligation that cannot be escaped. There are some connections that go beyond words, beyond logic, beyond even this lifetime. When someone crosses a chosen one, it's not just an accident or a fleeting mistake. It's a move on the chessboard of a divine game, one where the rules were set long before either of you even arrived in this world. It's as if an unseen soul contract binds them to you, a sacred agreement made on a spiritual level. They were always meant to meet you, to face this exact moment of reckoning, and to make the choice that could alter the course of their journey. This isn't just about guilt or regret. It's about fulfilling a spiritual task, a cosmic lesson written into the fabric of their soul's path. When they wronged you, they didn't just betray a person. They betrayed a divine agreement, a promise etched into their spirit. The result? An inescapable pull that keeps drawing them back to you, a force that whispers in their subconscious, "You have unfinished business here." They may not recognize it as a soul contract at first. All they know is that something feels off, like they're out of sync with life itself. No matter what they do, a sense of emptiness gnaws at them, a void they can't fill. They try to distract themselves, to move on, but the harder they resist, the stronger the pull becomes. It's as if the universe is steering them back to you, refusing to let them take another step forward until they confront what they've done. The weight of this unseen contract manifests in their spirit. It's not just regret, it's a deep, gnawing awareness that they're stuck, spiritually stranded until they make amends. They may feel lost, disconnected, like life has lost its color and meaning. That's not coincidence. It's the consequence of ignoring a soul's obligation. Their path is blocked, their energy stifled, because they've failed to fulfill what they were meant to do. Come to you, confess, and grow. This isn't about punishment, it's about alignment. The soul seeks balance, truth, and accountability, and until they meet these demands, they'll continue to feel like they're running in circles. It's like a compass spinning wildly, unable to find true north. They can try to push forward, but their steps will always lead back to you. On some level, their spirit knows this. That's why, even if they can't explain it, they feel the pull to confess. It's not just about easing their guilt, it's about restoring harmony to their soul's journey. The wrong they did to you isn't random, it's the spiritual test they agreed to face long before this moment. By crossing paths with you, they were given a chance to learn humility, accountability, and redemption. And that's where your power as a chosen one comes in. You are not just part of their story, you are the catalyst for their growth. Your light, your energy, your presence forces them to confront the parts of themselves they'd rather avoid. You are the mirror reflecting their truth, the checkpoint they must pass to move forward. Every day they delay, the pull gets stronger. They start to feel as though they're being dragged toward you, not by choice, but by something greater. They might not understand it, but their spirit does. The more they resist, the more out of alignment they become, and life only grows harder. Relationships strain, opportunities slip away, and that inner void deepens. They can't escape the truth. Until they make things right, they'll remain spiritually stuck. Coming clean isn't just an apology. It's their soul's way of finding freedom. Confessing to you fulfills their part of the contract, allowing them to finally break free from the cycle of guilt and stagnation. It's not just about redemption. It's about stepping back into alignment, reclaiming their path, and moving closer to their true purpose. So let them feel the pull. Let them wrestle with the invisible thread that tugs at their heart and spirit. Because no matter how far they try to run, they'll always find themselves drawn back to you. They can't move forward until they face you, until they honor the agreement their soul made long before they ever knew your name. You, chosen one, are their reckoning, their mirror, their path to redemption. And whether they realize it or not, they're being guided by forces far greater than themselves. Eventually, they'll understand. Confessing to you isn't just a choice. It's their only way back to alignment, to purpose, to peace. Number 6, their fear of your spiritual sight pushes them toward confession. To hide from a chosen one is to stand naked before the truth. They see what you bury and call out what you fear. When someone wrongs a chosen one, they quickly learn they've stepped into a realm far beyond their understanding. Deceiving you is not like deceiving just anyone. It's like trying to hide in plain sight from someone who can see into the depths of their soul. They come to realize that your intuition isn't just sharp. It's piercing, like a blade that cuts through every excuse and facade they try to build. What scares them most isn't just the thought of being caught. It's the sinking realization that you may already know. They sense your ability to uncover the truths they've buried, to read the silent confessions etched in their energy. You're not just a person. To them, you're an almost otherworldly force, a spiritual spotlight that illuminates every shadow they thought they could hide in. This awareness eats away at them. The more time they spend in your presence, the more anxious they become. Every glance you give, every word you say feels loaded, as if you're pulling apart the layers of their secrets piece by piece. Their guilt begins to feel like a fragile glass, and in your presence, they're terrified it will shatter with just one look or one word from you. It's not just their actions that feel exposed, it's their very soul. This fear grows with time, becoming a storm that builds inside them. They start to imagine scenarios where you call them out, where the truth is laid bare in front of everyone. The thought of you confronting them becomes a nightmare they can't escape. It's not just shame they fear, it's the consequences, the spiritual fallout they believe will come from withholding the truth from someone as divinely attuned as you. They begin to sense the power you carry, even if they can't explain it. You're not just intuitive, you're protected, guided by forces they don't fully understand. And the longer they resist coming clean, the more they feel that they're tempting fate, as if every moment of silence is pushing them closer to a reckoning far beyond their control. It's as if they're standing on the edge of a cliff, and every lie they hold onto pushes them closer to the edge. They feel the ground beneath them start to crumble, the pressure building until it becomes unbearable. Confessing to you begins to feel less like a choice and more like an urgent necessity. It's their only way to regain a sense of control, to soften the fallout they believe is inevitable. The fear they feel in your presence isn't just about being exposed, it's about the spiritual consequences of their actions. They start to sense that their secrets are not just unsafe around you, they're unstable. You carry a force that doesn't allow deception to thrive, a light that makes their lies heavy, unbearable, impossible to carry any longer. For them, confession becomes a desperate attempt to escape the storm brewing within. They hope that by coming clean, they can mitigate the consequences, ease the tension, and avoid a harsher reckoning. But what they don't realize is that this reckoning isn't something they can escape. It's already begun. The storm is their own doing, and your presence only amplifies what was already set in motion the moment they wronged you. To you, chosen one, they are like an open book. Their anxiety, their guilt, their attempts to act normal, it all reads as clearly as words on a page. You don't have to confront them or even say a word. Your energy alone does the work, unraveling their masks, exposing their weaknesses, and forcing them to see the truth of their own actions. They fear you because you represent accountability, a mirror they can't avoid looking into. And yet, deep down, they know that facing you is the only way to break free from the prison of their own guilt. They don't just fear your judgment, they fear the divine justice that flows through you, the unshakable power that demands truth and exposes lies. Eventually, they'll realize there's no running from your light. Confessing becomes their way of surrendering to the inevitable, their last hope of finding peace before their secrets consume them entirely. You don't need to chase them. Your presence alone will draw them out. Their fear of your spiritual power will guide them to the truth and to you. Number 7. Their ego crumbles under the weight of divine reckoning. The strongest walls of pride crumble when struck by the hand of spiritual justice. For someone who wrongs a chosen one, admitting fault is usually the last thing they'd ever consider. Their ego acts as their fortress, shielding them from vulnerability, accountability, and the thought that they might ever be wrong. Pride convinces them they're untouchable, above the consequences of their actions, and firmly in control of every outcome. But when you wrong a chosen one, the rules are different. No fortress can hold when the force of divine consequence begins to break it down. At first, they may brush off their guilt, convincing themselves they can push through it. After all, their ego has always been their armor, deflecting any self-doubt or responsibility. But this time, something shifts. A weight begins to press on them, heavier than anything they've felt before. It's not just guilt, it's a spiritual force, a consequence woven into the fabric of the universe. It feels like the walls of their ego are closing in, and for the first time, they realize they're up against something far bigger than themselves. The energy surrounding them becomes oppressive, like carrying an invisible burden they can't shake. No amount of denial or self-righteousness can lift it. They start to feel trapped, as though every step they take is met with resistance. Their usual mental defenses, justifications, excuses, distractions, fail them completely. Every attempt to ignore the growing pressure only makes it worse, like trying to hold back a tidal wave with bare hands. As the days pass, the weight grows heavier. It's no longer just an internal struggle. It starts to spill into every aspect of their life. Their relationships strain, their patience wears thin, and nothing feels satisfying anymore. They begin to notice how their actions have created ripples of discord, not just in their lives, but in the energy around them. They feel disconnected, untethered, as though they've lost control of their path entirely. This isn't coincidence. It's the result of spiritual consequence. The divine doesn't let wrongs against the chosen go unanswered, and now they're being forced to face the truth. Their ego, once their greatest shield, becomes a prison. Every excuse they make, every attempt to avoid accountability, only tightens the chains around them. The weight is unbearable, suffocating, leaving them no choice but to confront what they've done. Eventually, the realization hits them. Their ego is powerless here. They're no longer in control, no longer able to dictate the narrative or manipulate the outcome. The spiritual forces at play are far greater than their pride, and resisting only prolongs their suffering. They're left with one option: surrender. Confessing becomes their only way forward, not as a means of saving face, but as an act of survival. They realize that holding on to their ego, their pride, and their stubbornness is only making the weight heavier. In that moment, confession transforms from a dreaded obligation into a necessary release. It's no longer about protecting their image or minimizing fallout. It's about freeing themselves from the crushing force of their own guilt. When they finally confess, it's not just an apology, it's an act of humility. It's a moment of surrender, an acknowledgement that they've reached the limits of their own power. For the first time, they admit they aren't in control, that they can't outrun the consequences of their actions, and that they need to face the truth to find peace. This surrender isn't easy. It's a breaking point, the moment where their ego collapses under the weight of spiritual justice. But it's also the start of something new, a chance for them to grow, to learn humility, and to realign with the truth. The very thing they feared, letting go of their pride, becomes their salvation. For you, the chosen one, their confession is more than just words. It's proof of the divine forces that protect you, that ensure justice is served without you needing to lift a finger. Your power, your light, and your spiritual connection have brought them to this moment of reckoning. And while their surrender may seem like a victory for them, it's a testament to the strength and presence you carry as someone chosen and divinely protected. Number 8. The truth hunts them like a shadow they can't outrun. The energy of truth doesn't wait for permission. It haunts, it presses, and it demands to be seen. When someone wrongs a chosen one, they may initially think they've buried the truth so deeply that it will never resurface. They wrap themselves in lies, spinning a web of falsehoods that gives them a fleeting sense of control. For a moment, they might even convince themselves they've won, that their deception has successfully shielded them. But what they fail to understand is that lies are never weightless. They carry a dark energy that clings to the soul, growing heavier with time, until it becomes impossible to ignore. Their false sense of security begins to crumble as this energy takes hold. It seeps into their thoughts, their emotions, and their very essence, suffocating them under the weight of their deceit. But this heaviness is only the beginning. The energy of truth, relentless and unyielding, starts to creep into their life, haunting them in ways they never anticipated. At first, it's subtle. A memory flashes unexpectedly during the quiet moments, or an inexplicable wave of unease washes over them. But soon, the manifestations of this energy grow bolder. They wake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, as vivid dreams replay their wrongdoing like a movie they can't escape. In the daylight, their thoughts betray them, slipping into reminders of what they've done, even when they try to focus on other things. It's as if the truth has become an unseen force, following them wherever they go. They feel it pressing on their chest, lurking in their peripheral vision, always there, waiting. It's not just guilt. It's the energy of what's real, demanding acknowledgement. And the more they resist it, the more powerful it becomes. This haunting isn't random. It's the nature of truth to seek resolution, to bring light to the shadows. When someone wrongs a chosen one, the energy of that truth is amplified, as though the universe itself insists that justice be served. The longer they try to suppress it, the more disruptive it becomes. They begin to feel chased, not by you, but by the reality they've tried to deny. No distraction can save them. No amount of denial or rationalization can quiet the noise. The energy of truth wraps around them, a relentless presence that refuses to let go. It stalks them in their quietest moments, when their guard is down, forcing them to confront the reality they've tried so desperately to avoid. Eventually, they realize there's no escaping it. This isn't something they can run from, and it's certainly not something they can control. The weight of their lies becomes unbearable, far heavier than the fear of confessing. It dawns on them that the only way to free themselves is to face what they've done and come clean to you. Confession becomes more than an option. It becomes a necessity. The lies that once protected them have turned into chains, binding them tighter with each passing day. They recognize that only the truth can set them free, and only you hold the key to breaking the cycle. For you, the chosen one, this is a testament to the power of truth that surrounds you. Your energy, your light, and your divine protection amplify the consequences of deceit. You don't need to chase justice. It finds its way to you, carried on the unstoppable current of truth. And when they finally come to you, their confession will not just be words. It will be their surrender to the energy that has haunted them. They will admit what they've done, not just to ease their guilt, but to liberate themselves from the shadows they can no longer bear. You are the light in their darkness, the reckoning they cannot avoid. The energy of truth will always haunt those who wrong you, because you were never meant to carry the burden of their actions. It was always meant to come back to them, pulling them toward accountability and justice. And the moment they face you, they'll finally understand. There's no hiding from the truth, especially when it shines through you. Number 9. Their spirit craves your forgiveness like a thirst they can't quench. To be forgiven by a chosen one is to touch the grace that restores a broken soul to wholeness. Deep within the core of their being, beyond their ego and defenses, lies a truth they can no longer ignore. Your forgiveness is not just a relief, it's a lifeline. Forgiveness from a chosen one isn't ordinary. It carries a unique, transformative power, an energy that can heal the wounds of their spirit and restore balance to their chaotic inner world. Whether they fully understand it or not, their spirit is crying out for this release, desperate for the grace that only you can provide. They may have thought they could bury the guilt, distract themselves from it, or justify their actions. But as time passes, the weight of their deceit becomes undeniable. It's as if their spirit is tainted, clouded by the shame and regret they've tried so hard to suppress. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment of avoidance has left a residue on their soul, a heaviness they can't seem to shake. Without your forgiveness, they feel stuck, trapped in a cycle of emotional and spiritual stagnation. Life becomes a haze for them, devoid of true joy or peace. They may go through the motions, smiling on the surface, but deep down they feel disconnected, burdened by the shadows of their actions. Their spirit knows that to find rest, to feel whole again, they need to confront what they've done and seek the forgiveness that only you, the chosen one, can offer. It's not just about an apology, it's about a spiritual cleansing. Your forgiveness represents a light that can cut through the darkness they've created within themselves. They recognize, even if only subconsciously, that your grace carries a power beyond words. It's an act of mercy that doesn't just alleviate their guilt. It frees their spirit, untangling the knots of shame and regret that have left them feeling lost. This realization gnaws at them constantly, a reminder that their only path to peace runs through you. They know that until they come clean and seek your forgiveness, they will remain spiritually restless, unable to move forward. The chains they've forged with their own actions can't be broken by mere time or distance. Only your forgiveness has the power to release them. Confessing to you becomes more than just a way to unburden their conscience. It's a quest for redemption. Their spirit yearns to feel whole again, to experience the lightness that comes from being forgiven by someone who walks with such profound spiritual insight. They sense that you, as a chosen one, possess the kind of forgiveness that doesn't just wipe away mistakes, but restores balance and offers a second chance at alignment with their higher purpose. This journey toward your forgiveness isn't easy for them. It requires humility, vulnerability, and the courage to face the truth head-on. They must strip away their pride, confront their actions, and place themselves at your mercy. But deep down, they know it's the only way to find rest. Their spirit is weary, weighed down by the energy of their own deceit, and only by receiving your forgiveness can they finally breathe freely again. For you, the chosen one, this is a testament to your power. Your energy, your light, your connection to the divine make your forgiveness a force that transforms, heals, and redeems. They may have wronged you, but their spirit recognizes the grace you carry, and it craves the freedom that only you can offer. And when they do confess, when they seek your forgiveness, it will be more than just words. It will be their spirit's plea for liberation, an acknowledgement of the divine authority you hold as a chosen one. Your forgiveness will not just ease their guilt, it will lift their soul, restoring the peace they've longed for and bringing balance back to the energy they disrupted. You are their path to redemption, the source of the healing their spirit needs to find rest. And no matter how long it takes, their soul will keep seeking you, drawn by the unshakable truth that only your grace can set them free. Number 10. Their desperation to regain your respect becomes their driving force. Respect from a chosen one is a crown they forfeited, and now they're willing to humble themselves to earn even a piece of it back. For the one who wronged you, the realization hits hard. They've lost something far greater than they ever anticipated: your respect. It's not just any respect, it's sacred, a rare and priceless treasure that their actions have stripped away. This loss gnaws at them relentlessly, leaving an ache that no external validation can soothe. They know what they've thrown away, and it haunts them. But in the void left by their betrayal, something begins to stir. It's a glimmer of understanding, a flicker of hope. They begin to see you in a new light, not just as someone they wronged, but as someone whose opinion holds unparalleled weight. Your respect isn't just approval, it's a reflection of their potential, of the person they could have been if they hadn't been consumed by their own ego and missteps. This thought becomes a powerful motivator. The idea of confessing, of coming clean, transforms into more than an act of guilt. It becomes a mission to reclaim something they've lost. Your respect, even in the smallest measure, represents redemption to them. They know they may not deserve it right now, but the desire to earn it pushes them forward. When they see you, they don't just see a person, they see a mirror, one that reflects their failures, but also hints at who they could be. They want to stand before you, not as the person who wronged you, but as someone trying to grow, to change, to be better. The possibility of seeing even a flicker of acknowledgement in your eyes becomes a beacon of hope in their otherwise clouded existence. In your presence, they feel the weight of who they are now, and the possibility of who they could become. It's humbling, even terrifying, but it's also transformative. They realize that confessing isn't just about unburdening themselves. It's about stepping into a narrative where they can begin to redefine who they are. Your respect isn't just a reward to them. It's proof that they're capable of change. It's a validation they can't find anywhere else, a recognition that they've taken the steps to align with honesty and integrity. It's not about erasing the past. They know that can't be done. But it's about proving, both to you and to themselves, that they are more than their mistakes. This moment isn't driven by pride or ego. It's driven by the yearning to stand in your light, even if it's just for a moment. They want to show you and themselves that they're capable of growth. They want to emerge from the shadow of their choices, to shed the weight of their guilt and step into the possibility of something better. For you, the chosen one, this is a testament to the power you hold. Your respect is not freely given, it's earned, and its absence is deeply felt by those who have wronged you. You don't have to demand it or seek it. The force of your presence, your light, and your integrity makes them crave it naturally. Their confession becomes an act of courage, a moment of vulnerability where they strip away their pride and stand before you in their truest form. They're not asking for forgiveness alone. They're asking to be seen as more than their mistakes. They're asking for the chance to rebuild, to prove they're capable of growth, to show you that they're more than their worst moment. And while your respect may not come easily, their willingness to try, to face the truth, and to humble themselves before you is a reflection of their transformation. They know they can never undo the past, but they hope to write a new story, one that begins with confession and leads to the possibility of redemption. Number 11, they see you as the key to reclaiming their lost abundance. To wrong a chosen one is to lock yourself out of life's blessings, and only their grace holds the key. When they wronged you, they unknowingly severed their connection to the flow of abundance and joy that once filled their life. Now, everything feels blocked. Relationships grow distant, opportunities slip away, and even their health falters under the weight of their actions. It's as though an invisible hand has pressed pause on every part of their existence, leaving them stuck in a stagnant, chaotic limbo. This isn't just guilt, it's spiritual consequence. The energy they disrupted when they crossed you has turned back on them, creating a barrier they can't break through. Slowly, they come to a sobering realization. You are the gatekeeper to the balance they crave. In their eyes, your forgiveness holds the power to unlock the flow of positivity, connection, and success that has been cut off. Confessing to you becomes more than an apology. It's their desperate plea for freedom. They hope that by making amends, they can reopen the channels of abundance they once took for granted. Your forgiveness symbolizes redemption, a chance to reclaim the life they've lost, to restore the harmony that their actions disrupted. To them, you are no longer just the person they wronged. You are the catalyst for transformation. They don't just want your pardon, they need it, believing it holds the key to unlocking their future, their joy, and their connection to the universe's blessings. Number 12, they're terrified as your rise leaves them behind. When a chosen one rises, the light they radiate blinds those still trapped in the shadows of their own making. As you ascend, chosen one, your energy becomes a force of transformation, a beacon of strength and purpose. You're no longer tethered to the past. Your spirit is soaring, breaking barriers, and stepping fully into divine alignment. This rise is not subtle. It's powerful, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. And they feel it. While your spirit reaches new heights, theirs remains stuck, heavy with guilt and stagnation. It's like watching a ship sail into open waters while they're anchored in a storm. The contrast between your growth and their stagnation becomes a mirror they can't escape. They see your strength, your elevation, and it highlights their failures, their missteps, their inability to move forward. The spiritual power shift around you is overwhelming to them. They feel the widening gap, the chasm that threatens to leave them behind entirely. The fear of that isolation gnaws at them, a terrifying realization that if they don't act, they will be eclipsed by your light, forgotten and spiritually stranded. Confessing becomes their desperate attempt to close the gap, to align themselves with your rising energy before it's too late. It's not just about seeking forgiveness. It's about trying to reclaim a connection to the power and clarity you now embody. They know your rise is unstoppable, but they hope that by coming clean, they can be part of it. It's their last chance to step out of the shadows and into the light that you've become. A final attempt to transform alongside you rather than be left behind in the weight of their choices.